Ladies and gentlemen, the magnitude of Reggie Jackson was unparalleled, especially in those three and straight World Series and five straight division titles with the Oakland A's in the 1970s. But he was disgruntled in Oakland under that crackpot Charlie Finley, and eventually found himself in Baltimore. Now, obviously, he went on to the Yankees, winning two more World Series there and winning a multitude of division titles, lost in 81 for the World Series. But we're going to go over a little bit of the background of how we ended up in Baltimore, which is comparable kind of to Pete Rose playing in Montreal, Frank Thomas in Toronto, Dave Parker in Toronto, Candelaria in Montreal. Doesn't really fit. Now, despite hitting 255 home runs in 9 years with the Athletics, including Kansas City, Jackson was also no stranger to controversy or conflict in Oakland. Sports author Dick Krauser wrote, when the late Al Helfler was broadcasting the Oakland A's games, he was not too enthusiastic about Jackson's speed or his hustle. Once with Jackson on third, teammate Rick Monday hit a long home run. Jackson should score easily on that one, commented Helfler. Krauser also noted, nobody seems to be neutral on Reggie. You're either a fan or a detractor. When teammate Daryl Knowles was asked if Jackson was a hot dog, i.e. a show-off, he famously replied, there isn't enough mustard in the world to cover Reggie Jackson. But get this, he drew the fans, not nationally per se, but internationally. He became a household name in Canada and other countries. Now, in February 74, Jackson won an arbitration case for $135,000 salary for the season, nearly doubling his previous year's $70,000. On June 5th, outfielder Billy North and Jackson engaged in a clubhouse fight at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Jackson injured his shoulder, and catcher Ray Fosse, attempting to separate the combatants, suffered a crushed disc in his neck, costing him 3 months on the disabled list and giving him long-term partial disability. And in October, the A's went on to win their third straight World Series title. Now, prior to 75, Jackson sought $168,000, but arbitration went against him at this time, and he settled for $140,000, which was a slight increase. The A's won a fifth consecutive division title, but a loss of Catfish Hunter, baseball's first modern free agent, left them vulnerable, and they were swept in the ALCS by the Red Sox, who, of course, went on to lose in 7 to the Big Red Machine. Now, paid $140,075, and he was one of 9 Oakland players refusing to sign 76 contracts because of what Charlie Finley was doing, nickel and diming, literally and figuratively. Jackson sought a 3-year, $600,000 pack, which would be comparable probably to about $10 million now, which seems chicken feed. With free agency imminent after the season, the expectations of higher salaries for which Athletics owner Finley was willing to pay, he was traded along with Ken Holtzman and minor league right-handed pitcher Bill Van Bommel to the Baltimore Orioles for Don Baylor, Mike Torres, and Paul Mitchell on April 2nd, 76. Now, Baylor for Jackson, comparable numbers, as we say, bad on defense. Torres for Holtzman's comparable, so it wasn't really a bad trade, but Jackson was a bad fit for Baltimore. From one evil of Charles Finley over to the asshole Earl Weaver. Now, Jackson that year had not signed a contract and threatened to sit out the season, and he reported to the Orioles 4 weeks later. He made his first plate appearance only on May 2nd. Baltimore and Oakland both finished second in respective divisions in 76, as the Yankees and Royals advanced to the LCS, the first without the A's since 1970. During Jackson's lone season in Baltimore, he stole 28 bases, a career best. Jim Palmer later wrote, I would say Reggie Jackson was arrogant, but the word arrogant isn't arrogant enough. However, he thought the Orioles made a brick-brain mistake by not signing him to a contract, allowing him to become a free agent. Now, when the Yankees won the pennant in 76, they were swept into the World Series, of course, by the Reds. A month later, on November 29th, they signed Jackson to a 5-year contract totaling $2.96 million, which is about $15 million in current dollar terms. The number 9 they had worn in Oakland and Baltimore was already used by Craig Nettles, and Jackson asked for number 42 in memory of Jackie Robinson, but that number was given to pitching coach Art Fowler before the start of the season. Knowing that Hank Aaron, at the time the holder of the career record for the most home runs, had just retired, Jackson asked it the 4 and received number 44 as a tribute to Aaron. Jackson wore number 20 for one game during spring trading as a tribute to the also recently retired Frank Robinson. Then he switched to number 4. And we've touched on several times at different podcasts about the difficulty Jackson had in Oakland leading to New York. But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. At the time, the broadcast games of Major League Baseball, when he moved to Baltimore, it took away Oakland's pretty well rivalry against their Western team. Holtzman had been gone as well, not saying he was good as Jackson, but he was, a highly loved player. We knew something was going to happen. Now, Jackson was also considering Montreal until another location, until Steinbrenner convinced him. Reggie, you're in New York, the famous, if you see the Bronx is Burning miniseries, take him through the streets of New York, and everybody's saying, hey, Reggie, please stay. We need you. And he said to Steinbrenner, did you do this? He said, no. He said, this is the people. But he was saying, to Reggie, if you do this, you'll have all this publicity, ad possibilities, even from the Reggie bar and different stuff. But I'm a big fan of Reggie Jackson. I'm not a big fan of his ego. But if you can back it up, let me put this in perspective for you. If I said to you I'm the greatest sports journalist in New Brunswick history, you think I'm egotistical. I'm not the greatest. I'm the most recognized. I've won more awards as a sports journalist in New Brunswick in all categories than other journalists in New Brunswick history, including mostly community awards. I've won part of being of 8 best Atlantic newspapers. I won best sports coverage in the Maritimes 4 times and best in Canada once. And I'm not that good. But like Reggie Jackson, I was a money player. I was there for some of the most major events that ever occurred in the Maritimes, including Alan Legier, various murders, announces of plants, NB Power, Bennett Environmental. I've covered mergers of communities, the Beldoon situation, controversies, stuff like that. I recorded history. The 5 years that Reggie was in Oakland, every time he came to bat, people couldn't take their eyes off him. But when we got to New York, it was magnified. He said the magnitude of me, the famous line, Reggie Jackson was money. You can't take your eyes off athletes like Tom Brady, Guy Lafleur, Wayne Gretzky, Mike Bossy, currently Aaron Judge, Ohtani. Ohtani is Reggie Jackson, but he's not the egotist. But look at Ohtani. You watch the highlights now. Back in the day, you showed Reggie Jackson highlights. You wouldn't even show the Oakland game. You show highlights. The highlight show was started with Reggie because everybody wanted to watch Reggie, and we didn't know his last name. There was a Reggie Smith, a very good player in Boston and L.A., but you said Reggie, there's only one Reggie. Everybody knew who Reggie was. Nice-looking man, Latino, black, a good overall athlete, not the best outfielder, but a handsome guy, well put together. And despite people trying to put him down or kept him in line, he kept on producing. Let's put this in perspective, okay? He won 5 titles between 1971 and 75 in Oakland. He won titles in 77, 78, 80, and 81 in New York. And he won a title in California in 82. So from 1971 to 82, his teams only didn't make the playoffs twice, and it wasn't his fault. 79, the Orioles were strong, and obviously 76, the Yankees or the Red Sox were going to dominate. That was their era. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do, if you never heard of Reggie Jackson before, go on YouTube, see Sports Century documentary, read about it. I'm telling you this. I'm an egotist. I'm not scared to say. But this guy was beyond the beyond. But he could back it up. So, is it ego? Is it ego if you can do it, or it's ego if you know you can do it? Like, where's the line? He's the first modern athlete. There would be no Kobe Bryant and all these basketball and baseball stars without Reggie. And you can hear the sound there, Reggie, Reggie, Reggie. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the latest Vintage Baseball podcast. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe. The last Reggie Jackson podcast we got great response. Thank you to all the listeners. And don't forget, tell your friends if they like anything about Vintage Baseball. You can just drop in the channel. There's no subscription fee. Let me know what you think. I think we have several hundred Vintage Baseball. So put in your favorite player, and we do take requests. And requests are highly accepted and highly, highly considered. Have a good one. Bye.